Hello, I'm Dr. Jim Powell, here to talk about man-made global warming. If you've not seen my companion video on the ways scientists have been wrong in the past, you can find it on YouTube. Is man-made global warming true? Or could it be a hoax, a conspiracy by scientists and their allies to hoodwink the public? A lot of people believe the conspiracy theory. 31% of Americans do not accept that humans are causing global warming at all. 42% of those who doubt or deny it believe man-made global warming is a conspiracy. For them to be right, these 8 questions need reasonable answers. Question 1. Is a conspiracy possible just in terms of the numbers who would have to be involved? For 2013 and 2014 combined, I found that more than 69,000 scientists had written articles on global warming. Only 4 scientists rejected the theory, showing that the consensus is above 99.99%, a hair's breadth from unanimity. If man-made global warming is a conspiracy, then nearly every climate scientist in the world has signed on. Had I extended my study to 2015, I would have found at least 100,000 climate authors in total. Many have graduate students and research assistants who would also have to be in on the conspiracy, raising the number of direct participants to several hundred thousand. Science would be a vast criminal enterprise of unprecedented breadth, secrecy, and control. It would make the mafia and the Nazis look like small fry. Question 2. Can you corral a global herd of cats? The conspiring scientists would have to fake every piece of data that supports global warming. Those data would include the temperature records from thousands of weather stations on land and floating buoys in the ocean, the hourly carbon dioxide measurements, the sea level measurements, the changing area of floating Arctic sea ice, the volume of ice on Greenland, the thousands of computer runs, and on and on and on. We are talking about hundreds of thousands, if not millions, of data points from every corner of the Earth and for at least 50 years. To keep track of it all, so that none of the fake data would conflict with any other, would require someone with godlike, or rather satanic, omnipotence. Scientists everywhere would have to follow the evil one's orders, but scientists won't follow orders. Attend a scientific meeting and listen to them argue in the meeting rooms, halls, and bars, and you cannot possibly believe they could be organized into a criminal conspiracy. Question 3. Who's behind the conspiracy and what is their motivation? Senator James Inhofe says that the Hollywood elite is behind it. Others claim it is the United Nations. Dr. Tim Ball says that carbon dioxide is not a pollutant and that, quote, global warming is the political agenda of a group of people who believe that industrialization and development and capitalism and the Western way is a terrible system and they want to bring it down, end quote. In other words, it's the liberals. But are scientists solidly liberal? A survey by the Pew Foundation found that 52% of American scientists do identify as liberals, but that leaves the other 48% to blow the whistle on them. Chinese scientists now rank second in the number of global warming publications. Are they part of a liberal conspiracy? Even if liberal American scientists would try to mount a conspiracy, how did they persuade all those conservatives and foreigners to cooperate? Question 4. Who else would have to be involved in the conspiracy? To keep control of the conspiracy and to ensure that there were no leaks, the list of conspirators would have to reach well beyond the hundreds of thousands of individual scientists and their grad students and research assistants. It would have to include thousands of university administrators and lab managers, plus the staff of government agencies like the National Science Foundation, and these guilty-looking NASA employees, and the editors and publishers of scores of professional journals and the leaders of scientific societies. Then there would be the many who would not directly participate, but who would keep the conspiracy alive by foolishly accepting the claims of the criminal scientists. We might call these the global warming dupes, or sympathizers, as the old John Birch Society labeled Presidents Truman and Eisenhower, communist dupes. These would include members of Congress who accept man-made global warming, like Senator Sheldon Whitehouse of Rhode Island. Former American presidents like Lyndon Johnson and George H.W. Bush, both of whom warned of the danger of global warming. And let's not forget President Ronald Reagan. Yes, Reagan. He signed an international agreement to ban emission of gases that were dangerously polluting the atmosphere, not carbon dioxide, but gases like Freon. It was called the Montreal Protocol, and it has worked better than anyone expected. Then, of course, there's President Obama, candidate Hillary Clinton, the United Nations and its Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, the retired admirals and generals who recently warned that global warming poses a grave threat to national security, a rising number of evangelicals, Pope Francis. Who's left? Question 5. What would a conspirator risk? If you were a university scientist and someone sidled up to you and asked you to join the conspiracy, you would have to think about the risk to you and your family. If the conspiracy were exposed, you might face criminal prosecution and, in some countries, execution. At the very least, you would be fired and debarred from ever receiving a research grant. Thus, if you managed to escape prison, you would risk becoming a jobless and disgraced pariah while destroying your family's welfare. You would really have to hate Western democracy. Yet, you would have to be a good enough actor to keep your hatred secret and appear to be perfectly happy living here among us. Just look at these scientists at a meeting, pretending to be chatting with colleagues and looking at posters, happy as clams, all the while plotting the downfall of Western democracy. If they hate us so much, why don't they just move to a country without democracy? Question 6. Could the conspiracy be kept secret? Of course, conspiracies do exist. For 50 years, big tobacco, as represented here by the 7 dwarfs, suppressed information from their own research showing that nicotine is addictive and that smoking causes lung cancer. No one went to jail, but the companies did have to pay a $250 billion settlement because they had knowingly lied. How was the critical evidence made public? By whistleblowers like Jeffrey Wigand, shown here, and Merrill Williams Jr. Of the hundreds of thousands of people who would have to be part of a conspiracy over global warming, is there not one person of conscience? Today, the whistleblower could keep his identity a secret and just put the damaging information on WikiLeaks, or use the U.S. mail, like the person who leaked Donald Trump's tax return. Question 7. Why wait until now? If scientists were bent on bringing down Western democracy, why did they wait until the 1990s to use global warming as their vehicle? Why did they not try other methods decades earlier, like passing secrets to the Russians or Chinese, writing computer malware, sabotaging equipment, faking scientific reports, or any number of other schemes that clever scientists come up with? And are climate scientists the only ones who so hate Western democracy? Where are the conspiring astronomers, biologists, chemists, geologists, mathematicians, and physicists? Question 8. Can you have a conspiracy today without email? To keep track of a global conspiracy whose members are never in the same place at the same time, the conspirators would have to use email. But then they open themselves to hacking and exposure. But wait a minute. The climate scientists have already been hacked. Now we've got them. Remember ClimateGate? In 2009, just before the Copenhagen Climate Conference, a hacker stole over 1,000 emails from a research center in the UK and posted them on the internet. The authors included a number of top climate scientists. Here at last, the deniers crowed, was the evidence that would expose the conspiracy. But no, the ClimateGate emails contained some embarrassing statements, to be sure, but not one word of conspiracy. The scandal of the century, as Senator Inhofe called it, turned out not to amount to a hill of beans. Well, let's wrap up. All it would take to expose the conspiracy would be for just one of the hundreds of thousands of scientists to have a pang of conscience and confess, or to find just one incriminating email or fudged data point. It would be so easy. Yet none of those things has ever happened. Until they do, let's keep the global warming conspiracy theory where it belongs, in the loony bin with the faked moon landings, the Flat Earth Society, and the Elvis sightings. It's a sad fact, folks, especially for one who remembers the young Elvis in the 1950s, but the king has truly left the building, never to return. And global warming cannot possibly be a hoax. It's all too real and the greatest threat that humanity has ever faced. Thank you for watching.